In a world where games like this sell more than twice as many copies as games like this, one man will be a hipster and tell you about all the games that are really underground and were cool before you knew about them.
Actually, I'd be willing to bet that you've played or at least heard of one of the games on this list. But regardless, these titles didn't get the mainstream attention that they deserved despite sporting solid gameplay, unforgettable storylines, or addicting multiplayer. These are the best shooters you've never played.
Numero 5.
Over the past decade, the once mighty horror genre has fallen from gaming grace into the depths of niche obscurity. Genre cornerstones like Silent Hill and Resident Evil have become little more than action thrillers and platformers with an overabundance of rust. I guess modern gamers just don't enjoy a good scare as much as they enjoy this. Either way, our fourth runner-up, Condemned Criminal Origins, can appease both action junkies and horror buffs alike. Condemned tasks players with hunting down the Matchmaker, a mannequin aficionado, and serial killer. The story's pretty good and the combat's okay, but what really sets this game apart is its atmosphere and mastery of visual direction.
¿Qué dirección visual significa?
That's a good question.
Gracias.
Visual direction is the ability to influence a player's focus without forcing it. It's an older game design philosophy that seems to have fallen by the wayside of cutscenes and scripted events, but it's nonetheless essential when making a horror game. For instance, here you can see a light switch. It's an optional light switch. There's no point in hitting it other than to turn on a light. But what it does accomplish is attracting the player's attention to a window, where this can be seen. This is a recurring theme throughout the game that provides a ton of quality, organic thrills the whole way through. If you enjoyed the film Seven, or if you're just looking to put a couple extra pairs of pants in your next wash, then this little gem might just be for you.
Numero 14.
Mix Dr. Seuss with Donnie Darko and add a generous helping of mixed martial arts, and you've got a perfect recipe for spaghetti sauce. I'm not surprised that Xenoclash didn't achieve success on an enormous scale, but it did at least deserve a better reception than it got. This game accurately recreates the horrors of tripping on pot, or drinking alcohol before you turn 21. Sure, there's no unlockable red dot sights for your dirt guns or upgrades for your wooden stick. Instead, a simple question serves as the driving motivator throughout the game.
¿Qué es esto?
I could go into depth about how this thing is supposedly your father-mother, technically making her your sister-brother, but I think the game does a great job of slowly quenching the player's thirst for answers as the plot unfolds. The combat is superb. All-out assaults are discouraged, and blocking encounters are rewarded, but still, nothing feels quite as good as beating the shit out of your deformed sibling when they miss a block. Aside from being a bit repetitive at times, the story turns out to be surprisingly excellent. But despite all these facts, and the fact that the publisher tried every marketing trick in the book, the public at large just didn't want to bite on this one.
Numero 3.
If someone asked me for an example of polish in a video game, I'd show them this: Lead and Gold, Gangs of the Wild West. I'll be the first to admit it's a simple game, with little motivation to keep players playing, apart from the allure of getting better at it. But that didn't stop games like Unreal Tournament 2004 or Counter-Strike from becoming smash hits. And it shouldn't have stopped this game either. The control scheme is fluid and the shooting superb. Sometimes when I'm playing this game I have to take my hands off the keyboard to remind myself that I'm not bald. That's how excellent everything feels in this game. Whether you're running, jumping, rolling, or dying, it all feels like an extension of your own baldness. But before you buy this on Steam, let me remind you of how dead this game is. There are 3 people who play this game, and they all play on different servers. This game is so dead that the bots have quit.
You suck.
Chivalry is more alive than this game.
Get off the stage.
Anyway, I think this game failed for a few reasons. There were little things like lack of mod support and no DLC, but the big thing here is that people can shoot your hat off. And as other team-based shooters have taught us, players need their hats. The only thing more entertaining than our next entry is following Vin Diesel on Facebook. Seriously, his posts are hilarious. But what's not that funny is his performance in Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. The original was one of the first blockbuster movie game adaptations that was actually better than the movie it was supposed to be promoting. Why was it so good? I'll tell you in one word: scope. No, for the Modern Warfare fans, I'm not talking about an ACOG, I'm talking about the breadth of content the game attempts to cover. Let me break it down. Many movie tie-in games like Avatar attempt to capture the massive scope of the film with a poorly funded and uninspired third-party interpretation. Basically, they try to do too much. A massively lush world like Pandora would take a team of really passionate developers years to properly create. Butcher Bay didn't try to do that. Instead of having players jump from planet to planet in a grand campaign to stop the Necromongers, they decided to put players in prison, which turned out to be a great idea. The events that transpired in the game were a coherent, fun, and interesting narrative experience, which carried enough fictional weight in the movies to actually feel significant. Solid shooting mechanics and refreshing twists in the plot didn't hurt either. It's not easy to get your hands on a copy of the original Butcher Bay anymore, but fear not, you can still enjoy the experience by purchasing the sequel, Assault on Dark Athena, on Steam, which comes with a graphically updated version of the original campaign that has lost none of its former potency.
Number 1.
Some people, such as myself, absolutely love this game, while others hated it passionately, but far too few were involved in the discussion altogether. Before release, many industry heavyweights thought that this game would have been an instant classic, like Portal or Half-Life. Unfortunately, it managed to soar under the radar of many consumers and over the heads of some players. I am, of course, talking about Mirror's Edge. Set in a capitalistic metropolis of the not-so-distant future, players walk a mile in the shoes of Faith, an agile rooftop messenger with a knack for attracting the attention of local law enforcement. A simple control scheme allows players to carve their own path across the alabaster cityscapes, but when no clear path is present, the player must resort to violence, which is handled tastefully, and at no point does Faith mirror the serial-killing protagonists of other action titles. Despite taking a backseat to the movement, the combat still shines, with an arsenal of disarms, guns, and parkour-inspired takedowns. The story is no slouch either, and fully capitalizes on the metaphorical similarities between the player's freedom of movement and society's freedom from oppression. Despite critical acclaim, this title only managed to pull in 1/3 of the sales that EA had initially projected. I'd like to hope this doesn't influence their decision to make a sequel, but with no word on one since the initial launch in January of 2009, Mirror's Edge may simply have fallen off the radar. This has been James with FPS General. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and be sure to subscribe for more Top 5 fun, and leave a comment with your idea for the subject of the next video. Thanks for watching.